What's up, Wildcatters? Welcome back to another episode of the best show on the planet. We've got Andrew Rashad here with. Did I nail it?
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
I had to put a little pizzazz in there. Automated Rig Technologies. What's up, dude?
Oh, everything. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
great to be down here in Houston after about 2 years, and really, love
First-
what you guys are doing. Love what you're doing for the community, and thanks for the invite, Colin.
First time down here in 2 years, huh? You're a free man.
Yeah, it feels
Living
like
out of the
that.
cage.
Feels like that. Yeah.
We get sloppy seconds of oil money, but it's all right.
Yeah, he went on oil money first.
Well, Donnie's been messaging me on and off for quite some time, so I guess it's just because I was lucky enough to be top of mind in his first phone call. Right.
How you and Donnie know each other?
It was right before I think he got let go or whatever went on with his previous company.
Yeah.
Him and I were reaching out. I think I just reached out to him and I said, like, I love what you guys are doing or what you're doing out in LinkedIn there, and loved what Digital Wildcatters was doing, kind of seeing what JP and Keith and everybody was
Yeah.
doing. And we're sitting up in Canada going, damn, we really got to figure out how to get out there a little bit more. So I was reached out to Donnie and just had a good long phone call conversation with him and then just kept it going from LinkedIn there.
Awesome. Where you at in Canada?
We're in Calgary.
In Calgary?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
It seems like that's like the only place to live in Canada. I don't even know anybody.
But the people that we
anywhere
talk
else.
to.
Yeah. Well, our engineering admin office is up in Calgary, and then we have an operations facility in Edmonton, like 50,000 square feet with
Oh, cool.
4-acre yards. So that shop went right through COVID. We had the ability to space everyone out, but our Calgary office, we actually shut the office down and just moved. Like, I think like you guys, we just have a lot of people working from home.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
Calgary office, it just makes sense to keep people at home. Everyone's responsible and looks after themselves. And
Yeah.
Teams is amazing.
So what is Automated Rig? What do you guys do?
So Automated Rig started 11 years ago in my basement, and we started off as zone management technologies. So our company was, we were coming hot off the heels of selling I was partners in a company called Derrickman,
Okay.
sold to Weatherford in spring of 2008. And then started this in my basement in 2009 with Jonathan Strashik, so our electrical engineer. And so we were going down the path of mapping 3D structure, people and equipment for anti-collision, because the Iron Derrickman was a robotic arm that sat in the racking board, and there was a lot of 3 or 4 control systems that could run into each other.
Mhm.
We quickly realized we needed industry contacts and money, so we brought in kind of the group that we had pre-Iron Derrickman or through Iron Derrickman. So it was a consulting business that we were doing before that, like land-based drilling solutions. So we put everybody in the room and just started growing from there. So everyone was very. What we have is 3 main buckets, technical disciplines, right? We've got electrical software kind of in one, we've got hydraulic, and then we've got mechanical. And so out of those 3 buckets, each one of the people in those buckets has like 35 plus years experience in the land-based drilling and surface equipment world. So we can take those technical disciplines and then apply them to solutions for clients. So early days, so the first 5 years of Automated Rig was basically applying those solutions for clients. Kind of had a poor business model at the beginning of where we had, we were running the 80-20 rule. So we had, we were looking after those 20% of clients that paid 80% of your life and whatnot. And then when 2015 hit, those 5 clients went down to 2.
Yeah.
And so we went from 63 employees down to 13, and nobody was leaving because they weren't performing. We had an amazing team. So we kind of shifted gears in 2015, and we bought a company called C-Tech Design and Manufacturing. So that started us on the growth path again, and we took over continuous rod running equipment. So manufacturing. From rod plants to transport of continuous rod to the injectors and the small little rigs that run that. And there's more, and then shortly after that, we were coming off a solutions project, And that solutions project was for an offshore continuous tripping machine. But our heart and soul is in land-based drilling, land-based solutions. And one thing led to another, and we ended up coming up with the technology that really underpins our whole business, which is something called a jointed pipe injector. And so that's where the culmination of the last 12 years has landed us right now today. So that's what I'm on this trip about. That's what
So let's
rewind. I know there's a lot there to unpack.
yeah. Like, okay, where do I want to start unpacking that? No, let's go back to the business that you sold for Weatherford, with essentially this automated Derrick
Yeah.
arm. You know, I see those a lot offshore.
Yeah.
Is that the same? Is that the same design, or were these being used on land rigs? You know, the one that you guys had designed and sold to Weatherford.
Yeah, so that was a land-based. The focus of that company was a small, lightweight arm that could move on high-spec triples and move quickly, right? So there's a different world offshore than it is on land. Offshore is basically like a mobile factory that just picks up and moves, right? Versus land where you're breaking the rig down every 6 to 20 days and moving it. So the scope was very different. That was a sort of the things that you see in the offshore, like a lot of those star rackers are like parallelograms.
Yeah.
So the arm that is grabbing the pipe is mechanically locked to being vertical. This machine was not. It was an arm with one pivot point, and the physical handler of the arm would come up against the pipe. And the automated portion, just so we define, because there's two things, there's two camps. There's a lot of people use the term automation, but or automated, but it's really mechanized. In this case, this machine was sort of a hybrid of both. So an operator would run a joystick and they would say to well. So they didn't do any mental calculations and joystick and running from this point to the well center. They would just hold a button and all the math would work to get that arm out to well center. And then they would do the pickup, and then they would hold to rack, and the unit would run up the center of the finger, and it was a polar machine, so then it would run all the way up as opposed to like an XY racker type thing, and then it would drop off in location. So the operator was required to manually look after the well center and look after the racking board, but everything in between was calculated, right?
Yeah. And so you guys sell that to Weatherford, you said 2007?
Spring of 2008.
2008. Okay, cool. I'm sure that was a good feeling to build something and sell it and feel successful in that, huh?
It was. We had a wicked team there. We had offices in Denver, in Houston, about 60 to 70 people at the company. So that was a lot of fun, with just building up the team and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Selling was great. I mean, the timing, nobody knew what was coming 2020, 2009.
Yeah. Right after that, you had a downturn. So
Yeah.
it's actually something I think about a lot in the timing of selling companies. It's always, you always think about, we could hold out, build more enterprise value, get a bigger acquisition. But in this business, 1 or 2 years can make a big difference if you hit a downturn.
And there's a good not Darcy, the Spears and Associates. They've got a fantastic one of their podcasts actually talks about exactly this, like timing, when they've done the data or run the data to decide when the best time is. And it sort of seems like, according to their data, if I remember correctly, I think it was about 6 months ago they put this out, but it was like 2 years into a Democratic leadership, like in the States, is the best time. Like, it's not in the middle of the Republican side. It's what, 2 years into the Democratic leadership.
Is that specific for oil and gas?
Yeah. I think that's what they did. If I ever find it, I'll shoot it.
Try
through.
to find it and send it to us. I'd be really interested to listen to that and take a look. Yeah. Did you, not to get like, I like hearing people's journeys.
Yep.
And, one thing that I hear a lot when people sell a company or product is like they kind of lose their identity or lose their purpose, or you get to that,
your team.
Yeah.
You get to that point and you're just like, okay, what now? And, it sounds like you go hunker down in the basement and you start working on the next thing. But what did you feel after you guys sold?
Well, we can go dark because mental health is good.
Mhm.
So I actually had a nervous breakdown that year, the 2008
Before the sale or after? Okay.
after in the fall of. So lots of other things going on, but exactly what you're talking about. It's that identity. Like I was part of the I was there from day one, right? So I was consulting before the first employee got hired. I was the second employee that got hired into the payroll. I lived on drilling rigs. I think Ensign Rig 89 might have been the first rig that was on, and I slept on the drill floor for 3 days. And
Mhm.
I stayed up the first couple days on that job. I think I stayed up for almost 34 hours, something like that. And when I fell asleep in one of the shacks, like it was just so yeah, you create this whole persona in the company. You're living, breathing it. Like my wife was just like, stop talking about it at house parties. Nobody cares. And I'm like, but that's who I am, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was tough. It was tough. I didn't have kids at the time. My wife was pregnant, so we were just getting into all of those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And my whole philosophy on life has changed. The way I handle stress now is totally different.
Yeah.
It's a different world.
Yeah.
But yes, I totally get what you're saying.
What about what's like the positive side of it?
The positive side of it, coming out of it is the positive side of selling, or the
Yeah.
positive side of
Or both. I mean, all of it. All of
the
it.
breakdown part. The positive side of selling. What was really interesting was watching the team that we had built up grow inside of Weatherford.
Mm.
Right? Like there were guys that we started off that were in the apprenticeship world that ended up being global product champions.
That's pretty cool.
Right? So that was awesome. And it was and just to back up, that was partly why I ended up leaving in January of 2009. Was just like, I'm having kids, I'm selling the house, the
Mhm.
breakdown. I'm like, I just need to let go, basically,
Mhm.
right? And then you watch all these other guys take things on their own. Like
That's pretty
It was
cool.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you hunker down in the basement, you get this idea. You said the business model, is a little broken in those first 5 years or so. Let's talk about the ideation, when you're down there in the basement. I just like using that. It's like the metaphor, like down in the basement. Gotta add some mystique to it.
Yeah.
For us, it was the closet.
Yeah, we had a closet.
Oh, all good. I mean, we didn't
We're out
even
of the
have
closet.
there was
We're
no
out of the closet
drywall on the
now.
walls. It was just like my new house, and there was poly and
Yeah.
insulation, and we were
Yeah.
writing on the poly. So if you go back to that
That's
house,
all I
and rip,
think, man. I used to live outside of Seattle as a kid, and I loved how all the houses had basements. I
Yeah.
wish we had basements here. Like I'd be down there all the time working. But so you get this, you start ideating, coming up with the next idea. Kind of walk us through those early days of, how did you come up with an idea? What were you thinking? And then let's build up to when you guys acquired that other company.
yeah, for sure. So we are really lucky in the fact that our group has been involved with land-based drilling contractors for 20 some odd years plus, right? So some of our group was fundamental to the founding of Tesco, like the Top Drive guys.
Yeah.
One of our VP of engineering was at Precision for 17 years, and he roughnecked before he started there.
Awesome.
So a lot of the guys that when we put everyone in that room, so when Jonathan and I were in the basement, we were pulling in electrical jobs because that's both of our background,
Mhm.
doing moving systems and radio control systems for people, and we were calling the mechanical guys. The mechanical guys were calling us to do jobs for them. The hydraulic guys were doing the same. And we're like, well, if we put everyone under the same roof, we already know we have this subject matter expert group, and we already know that we have high-powered, very, very driven people. Everyone consulted before, so it was their own little kingdoms that they were running, right?
Mhm.
And we work really well as a team. So we just put everyone in the room, and we kind of had a little PowerPoint presentation for everyone, because everyone had their chance to kind of put their ideas up on the board, and then go, what do you think of this idea or this idea or this idea? And we sort of vetted out these ideas, and we started to chase down some stuff. And it was at that point that some of the ideas that we had literally given to clients in the early 2000s and they hadn't done anything with because they didn't have the electrical or the hydraulic or the mechanical under one roof.
Mm-hmm.
It became very apparent that it was like, well, we're just going to commercialize these ideas we gave away for free because nobody did anything with them and they're brilliant.
Yeah. So were you guys in the beginning stages looking at this as kind of like a engineering consulting firm where
Yeah.
you guys were going to go help drilling companies, develop new technology or ideas? Like, hey, look, we have all the expertise, both from an electrical, mechanical, and hydraulic perspective. We can help you. And then it sounds like these companies internally didn't have the SMEs that they needed to actually build out and deploy. So you guys are like, oh, hey, we'll just do it ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And we, because of the relationships that we had before, it was a lot of, from what I understand, and I wasn't doing a lot of the sales at the time because we were just sitting down as engineered consulting group with the client. We didn't compete against anybody for those first 5 years. Clients would just come to us and go, hey, we have XYZ problem. Can you guys solve it? And we would go, here's a rate. We think we can do it in this time. And this is what the Gantt chart looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And they would either say, yeah, that's something we want to go after or not. Right.
Yeah.
And then when everything just, and then everything just craters away in 2015. So, a lot of the hardware that we were supplying to clients like Ensign. Ensign's historically been a big client of ours.
Yeah.
And I think we were doing 15 or 16 hydraulic power units for their big rigs. And 13 of them might have got canceled overnight. So you're just, everyone's just reeling in that late 2014, 2015 kind of time frame, right?
Yeah.
How do you pivot and change up? Right?
So going into that, and especially kind of looking at the struggle there, kind of going back to the inception of that, you sell, you could have easily probably retired and never done anything again. And I think I know the answer to this, but I want to hear you kind of articulate it and kind of see how you think about it. Like, why immediately go back to the whiteboard, gather the team around, and go at it again?
Yeah, that's a good question. But to answer the, or to comment on the assumption, no, I couldn't have retired. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Definitely some of the guys in our team could have. But I think it's that underlying passion of solving problems.
Mhm.
Like our whole group is like that.
Yeah.
Almost to a fault. Like to put business to the side and focus solely on the problem that the client has.
Mm-hmm.
And just make it right, no matter what. If it's not even if there's not anybody at fault for anything, they just want to make the solution, create the solution for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our guys are very driven like that.
Yeah.
The whole team, like I said, focuses more on the solution than any of the commercials part. Like
Yeah.
I think I speak for both of us. I have no intention of ever retiring.
Yeah.
It's of no interest to me whatsoever. I have to be doing something and I have to have a purpose. And sitting on the beach, sipping Mai Tais is like not a purpose that I want to, not the life I want to live.
I will agree, and I hope my wife doesn't watch this because she's got
You've
got
been
other
telling her
plans.
a dream. Yeah.
Yeah. Going way back, we did. Her and I took a year off and traveled, and my brain doesn't do well with that. I need to
Was it
keep
the whole?
moving.
I've thought a lot about that.
Yeah.
Like, what if? Is it the whole time you're sitting here just thinking of new ideas and talking to people and piecing together the next team?
Yeah, it's all the stuff like because you're exposed, or we're exposed to oil and gas so much. I hear a lot of the stuff that you guys both talk about in the crypto world, for example, and that's just taking off, and that's because you've got this meld, right, of two worlds. You're seeing something over here, and you can apply it to what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I've always consumed an immense amount of information. So has our team, and applying stuff from outside right into the oil and gas industry, and it's so exciting. Like when you get this, when you really realize that solution, and it can help and benefit, and it's awesome, right?
Yeah. I like how you guys were thinking of these ideas and solutions, and then the drilling rig companies didn't have the expertise to actually deploy them or execute on them. It's funny because the Digital Wildcatters, it had this idea in 2016, like, oh, we're going to help all these oil and gas service companies with
Yeah.
content marketing, and this is the way, this is the future. And none of them, like, we couldn't get a single client. Like, okay, we're just going to take these ideas and do it ourselves. And
Yeah.
that's how Digital Wildcatters came to be.
It is. And it's funny because I wrote I love what you guys are doing in this space because it's so brilliant. There's a book written maybe in late 2009, 10, 11 area by a guy named Eric Qualman, and it's called Socialnomics.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever seen anything.
I haven't.
But he has this.
I'm gonna look it up now.
This line that that is brilliant, and it still applies. It's like, what's the ROI of social media? And it's that your business will exist in 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. And that's makes so much sense. So I wrote a 4-inch binder. I have no marketing training, no nothing, but I have this 4-inch binder that still has our social media plan that never got executed because it wasn't a solution we were trying to solve at the time.
Yeah.
Right. We were just focused.
Yeah.
It's just a passion.
Well, my thing is that content is the highest leverage activity of our generation. If you look at previous generations, all the leverage was in allocating capital.
Yeah.
Whoever had the capital had the leverage.
Yeah.
Now you look and you see every person that has a following on Twitter is starting a rolling fund, and content is the king now.
Yeah.
And I've always said that for you said it here. You connected with Donnie over LinkedIn through content. We've connected on LinkedIn through content.
We connected on LinkedIn.
Jake and I connected on LinkedIn.
We connected with Stephanie on LinkedIn.
Everyone's talking about Web3 now, in the crypto world. And I'm like, people still don't even understand the power of Web2.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to sell them on Web3. People don't even understand the power of Web2. And, just like I see people going rant sometimes about how social media is a waste of time. I was like, it's a waste of time because you use it wrong. You use it right, it's...
There's
a good ROI.
There's a whole discussion. I know that this is kind of diverging from all the oil and gas side, but one of the questions, like when you were showing me the sneak peek there, and we're talking about the app. The app's called
Collide.
Yeah. I got to download it. I'm sure it'll work for me from here. But there's a whole conversation about and I know you'll connect the dots, but the tokenization of communities and building that up and and I mean, you guys are on the right path. I think you guys are going to hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah. I mean, spend a lot of time thinking about communities.
Yeah.
And I think that there's kind of this convergence between new media companies and technology. And if you look at new media companies like Digital Wildcatters, technically we're a media company, but to Jake and I, we think we're a community company.
Yeah.
We have a community, and that's what separates us from, CNBC or Bloomberg or anything like that. And if you look at any new media companies like Barstool Sports or Morning Brew, like they all have communities, but you're starting to see this convergence of tech and media. And I think every tech company should be saying, hey, how can we build a community around our company? And you're seeing, like, even in oil and gas, like someone that's doing a really good job on this is Combo Curve. Combo Curve has a really engaged community and has evangelists out there for them. But I start looking at, okay, how do you use NFTs in effect for communities? And you're seeing this right now. Two of our investors in Digital Wildcatters have bored 8 NFTs.
Did you see their stories this week on Instagram?
Yeah, I've been watching their stories all weekend.
Yeah.
They're up in New York City for the board 8
interesting. It's
party.
So
like, it's a community around NFTs and crypto.
Yeah, well, that's the value that I think a lot of people, several people don't understand what NFTs are at all, right? They just think they're buying some sort of digital image or something like that, and they're putting it up on their metaverse or whatever they want to do. Like, I mean, they don't even think that there's a metaverse yet, so they don't understand that. But the thing about it is, I was listening actually on my flight back from Midland last night. There's a fellow named Raoul Pal, right? And he was I was listening to his conversation with Gary Vaynerchuk, and it's it's that what did he call it? It's the commerce of culture, right? Like it's actually turning that whole world that we know now upside down in several years, and it's happening very quickly.
Yeah.
And I started to chastise my son all the time for spending any money in Fortnite, but I'm like realizing it's all coming together in my head. Like I've always, in the background understood, but now I really understand.
That's what.
Mhm.
So a couple things, talking about chastising your son for spending money on, Fortnite or
Yeah.
in Roblox buying, V-Bucks or whatever it is. I go through the same thing. I got a 10 and 8-year-old and 5-year-old that are constantly wanting to buy shit in
Yeah.
video games. That's been going on for a long time. You had games like Second Life, World of Warcraft, and I mean, people are
League of
building up
Legends.
characters and selling them, and so like this whole idea of the metaverse, it's been happening for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I had growing up, on the original PlayStation network, like I had good friends that I'd never met,
Yeah.
never even knew what they looked like, but we're playing Rainbow Six 3 all the
Yeah.
time, just spending
Yeah.
15 hours a day with each other. And so one, you're seeing now the technology is enabled to where like Nike just made an announcement yesterday that they're going to start selling their shoes in video games and having NFTs of shoes. Like this, it's real.
So I'd like to know your thoughts on something here. So because we've got this group of kids that are like our kids' generation, I mean, we're on the cusp of understanding, like we've seen some fantastic things of like starting to use computers at home. I'm a little bit older than you, so it's like
Yeah.
my old DOS screen was black and orange.
Yeah.
But going through that whole phase into the web, 2.0 and moving
Yeah.
into 3.0, but our kids are already involved in this. So how is this going to convert our industry in the oil and gas side?
Yeah, so that's what I was actually gonna roll this back
Okay.
in because on that point, my kid on Roblox, he has an oil and gas field. So it's got these pump jacks and it's got some
Of course he does.
gas
That's
pumps.
awesome.
Yeah, and guess what he has next door to it? He has a Dogecoin mining farm right
Yeah.
next to it. And I'm like, I'm talking to my buddies, J Energy that are up in Wyoming. They're actually mining Bitcoin off of nat gas. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sending them pictures. I'm like, yeah, look, my kid's mining off of gas in the metaverse. And they're like, holy shit, he's
Yeah.
way far ahead. He's
Yeah,
farther
yeah.
ahead of than us.
It's brilliant.
But anyways, dude, we've had conversations with the CEO of an E&P that's like, hey, I'm really looking at the metaverse, and we've gone to remote and looking at how even we can have meetings in the metaverse, just kind of like Mark Zuckerberg was showing off the other day. And so if you think that NFTs and metaverse aren't coming into oil and gas, you're
Yeah.
wrong, because I'm talking to a lot of people that are oil and gas, and they're saying, hey, how can we
Mhm.
utilize this in our company culture?
I never
So-
thought these conversations were gonna like converge
yeah.
so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, we've had so many conversations about the metaverse with oil and gas guys in the last 3
Yeah.
months.
So
Oh,
it's happening.
It makes sense. It makes 100% sense. I think about it from, my wife and I had this conversation very early on during COVID. Was I think we need to buy Oculus Rifts, and I think we need them at home so that we can start setting up,
Mhm.
start finding those spaces online that you can meet and connect with people, because
Yeah.
you're so disconnected,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, it's awesome to see. I'm never going to create and maybe I shouldn't say that. It's just not a passion project
Yeah.
of mine.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can do anything they want if they put their mind and work to it. But it's just not our world. I mean,
Yeah.
I want the space to be there already.
The thing is, when you talk about the metaverse, here's what I believe is that Web3 and the metaverse is, everyone thinks it's 100% online environment, but it's not. And I'll tell you why. The future of social media and Web3 is online communities with an in real life component.
Yeah.
And so we first did this. You saw it on EFT, a bunch of EFT anonymous accounts online, and then boom, get together in person and have a great time. You're seeing this with the Board Ape Yacht Club.
Yeah.
Bunch of anonymous people with NFTs on Twitter, and now they're getting together in person. And so this is, our thesis with Collide is that, hey, we'll have this energy community on an app, but then there's going to be a big in real life component to that as well, whether it's through Digital Wildcatters events or other, sub community events. And so that's what I think Web3 is like, you and I say that we had a common passion on hockey, whatever it is.
Sure. Yeah.
You like hockey, you're Canadian.
Yeah. It was a safe assumption.
Yeah.
Is that racist? I don't know.
So anyways, like we're we be in this digital environment, we're talking hockey and yada, 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 but then we get together and meet up to go see a game. That's what Web3 is in my mind. And I think what you're saying with the Board Ape Yacht Club up in New York City is evidence that that's the way that the future is going. And so I think in oil and gas, you're going to start to see, blockchain applications out in the field, whether it's block apps, data gumbo, these types, just in operations. You're going to start to see EMPs, OFS companies say, hey, how can we use the metaverse for remote workers? You're going to start seeing, I know this has been an idea for a long time, but transmitting data to field hands to be able to, work on that pump if you have a pump down on a rig or whatever. So that's coming. And I think it has a big deal is with younger people coming up like us that are, taking over forward thinking. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves over time.
Accounting software built on the Bitcoin Lightning Network.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you think about the ability to even, timestamp the job that you just finished in some into a minted NFT, like on a well.
Yeah.
Right when that well finishes, boom, there it is, and then that operator owns that well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that asset can go along with the physical component later on.
Yeah.
There's so much we're trying to. I'm thinking about it from because we're surface equipment, right?
Yeah.
So we do trying to figure out that how we apply, and I get the community side of things.
Yeah.
But I think from our perspective, we would almost leverage. I can't bridge the gap in my head right now. We would leverage a community like yours.
Yeah.
To be involved with, because there's commonalities there.
Yeah, for
right?
sure. For sure. That's what I like, going through like different business models and trying to understand like, hey, how does it affect, like, it affects us way different than it affects your company, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to kind of like think through those different business models and see how it can be applied.
There's a very interesting thing that Raoul Paul said in one of the ones I was listening to with him recently about not trying to make a shot across any VC or PE company or anything. I just don't know. That's not my space, but that's what he was talking about, raising money through your communities now. You don't need the middleman. It's that democratization of money, right? So
yeah, I mean, we've talked about doing a crowdfund for our community to allow them to participate in Digital Wildcatters.
Yeah.
Just like, why would we not turn to the people that are part of the community to participate? Yeah.
Like Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
I'm watching that whole thing and just seeing it. Like, I'm trying to figure it out.
You'll see an NFT from Digital Wildcatters at some point. Like we think about it a lot. And so NFT will be coming out. Just we have a few ideas, but yeah, that's
we'll share on the hardware side, because we're trying to get our we've got some, like I said, we've come to the culmination point with this joint and pipe injector where we've done 2 years of testing.
Yeah.
And we're right at that front end of everybody in the industry wants to be first to be second.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, guys, it's there, it's tested, it's working, and we're trying to get over that hump.
It's always getting that first one, right? No one ever wants to be the
and I get it. There's a lot of perceived risk.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like interesting because like you see Neighbors has an automated rig, fully automated, running out in the Permian right now, and so some of these drilling companies are definitely they're trying stuff.
Oh, absolutely. That world excites me to no end, because like Like there was two things that kind of ran through my head when I was young. One was, everyone's familiar with Harry Stamper. They're on Armageddon, and he's running when he's drilling on the asteroid, and he's got this like he's sitting in this cab, and the joints right beside him, and he's trying to just shove everything in, almost like a snubbing jack, right?
Yeah.
And then and like taking that whole thought process, and I had this whole idea in my head that eventually our company would build like Autobots drilling, like Transformers.
Yeah.
So you'd roll out on location and just like like
Please do that. Please do that. That would be so cool.
And you got to have the speaker, right? You got to have like, but so I'm tying this back to our twin pipe injector. But the thing about that technology is that now we have it. Like that's what we developed. So just to kind of give you like a high level of where that fits in the architecture, like you've got a drilling rig, it comes out, it drills a well, right? Now you bring out your like your cold bore guys, like that EQT Evolve thing. That was perfect.
Yeah.
So they come in, they plug and perf. But after that, you've got this whole world in our oil and gas industry that's everyone's vying for some new technology right now, because you've got, I think Toby Rice said something about their strategy with EQT was to drill 5,000 feet longer than everyone else and a little bit bigger. I think I can't remember exactly how he put it.
And get continuous pumping on their frac jobs.
So exactly. So then you have this massive problem because coil tubing can no longer reach the depths that they're going, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then the benefit to coil tubing is you have continuous circulation. You can't rotate, but you have the continuous circulation, and you can pretty much run in without anybody standing beside the injector. You know, you're 100 feet away, you're in a nice air-conditioned control cab, you have a few guys on site. But they friction out, or they helically buckle or whatever, because they just can't, the surface equipment isn't there to go 25, 30,000 feet. Some of those wells in Pennsylvania are getting to 32.
Yeah.
So then that puts a snubbing jack in, right? But a snubbing jack, like 6-7 years ago, there's companies out there that have done fantastic jobs marketing them. They've done amazing training, like there's some amazing companies out there doing what they're doing right now, but they've answered the call of the industry because nobody else can do it unless you're bringing in a massive drilling rig with a rig assist model. But what we did with the JPI was we basically built a coil tubing unit, but the gripper block, the technology, and we've got worldwide patents on it now, is a split gripper block that walks over the coupling. So if you go back to a drilling rig and you think, okay, a drilling rig has got a set of blocks and it's got a set of slips. So you were used to, like popping the elevators open or pulling the slips or whatnot. You don't have to transfer load anymore. That's the benefit of coil. You're just always gripping.
Yeah, you have a continuous load going down. Yeah, you're not having to transfer, pull slips and
exactly. And so what you do is we're positioning this tool as sort of like there's always going to be space for coil, and there's always going to be space for snubbing jacks. But this tool actually can be operated by a snubbing jack company or a coil tubing company, and they can get all the benefits of jointed pipes. You can go larger, you can reach further, you can rotate, and you can continuously run. So you don't have to transfer load tens of thousands of times per well. And it's massive, right?
Yeah. So, okay. This is really interesting. I'm trying to picture it in my head. You said, it could be used on a snubbing unit or coil tubing. Let's look at it on a snubbing unit basis. How does the tool actually, how does the injector actually mount? Is that going to be on top of the wellhead? Where's it going to be?
Yeah, just like a snubbing jack is right now. So instead of in the place of the rams that are moving 10 feet, you're basically taking off everything on top of the annular, and you're bolting the injector right on top of the annular.
Okay.
And then there's a work floor above it.
Yeah.
And so we actually remove the people from the floor. So our world is hydraulic motion control, like I said, hydraulic, electrical, mechanical subject matter experts.
Yeah.
The stuff that we've built on the floor was built nine almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
For other jobs and for other things. So it's not like there's no science project there. All that stuff's been done.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is we're melding everything that we've that we've done in the past in this application. So we're making upgrades to the surface equipment or to the floor equipment, the
So,
catwalk.
let's kind of break down a snubbing unit operation for
Yeah.
those that may not be familiar with it. So, you got to snubbing unit. Usually you have your wall head, all your wall control equipment, and then floor is usually elevated
Yeah.
pretty high. 20 feet off the ground sometimes.
Yeah.
Of dangerous operation too. And then explain to us, how a snubbing unit works in terms of, you put in a joint of pipe.
Yeah.
And then it runs down and you've got, a series of,
Equalization spool.
yeah,
And,
I'm
for
trying to
sure.
figure out how to describe it to
Yeah.
someone that wouldn't be familiar with it.
Okay, so like you said, Colin, you've got your primary BOP stack, so your safety valving on the bottom, and then you've got some stripping rams,
Mm-hmm.
and in between your stripping rams, you have an equalization spool. So and then right on top, you'll have an annular, and this is just generally speaking. There might be very different. There's wellheads can change, as everyone knows,
Yeah.
in heights and all sorts of things. Sometimes there's lubricators on top, depending on how big the BHA or whatever job they're doing. So yeah, they can get really high, really high.
Yeah.
And then on top of all of that is the jack that's mounted. So the jack is essentially a set of stationary slips with that sit up on the floor or under the floor there, and then you've got a set of traveling slips, and you've got dies in both directions. So dies on the slips, they bite when they have load against them.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a set of heavy and light, or snubbing and heavy. So the stationary slips are always, they're stationary, but you're resetting the traveling slips constantly.
Yeah.
And part of the challenge for snubbers, and this is they get very, very good at that, or at this, but they have to do so many mental calculations because they have to know the wellhead pressure. They have to. Their job is their whole job in life is to make sure that they're containing and managing pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's what they do. So they're going to push the pipe into the well or pull it out of the well with the set of traveling slips, but entirely manual. So it's all like, if you YouTube snubbing operations, those guys are flying, but they're running 5 or 6 hydraulic levers every time they swing their hands up and down. And for one joint of pipe, a 30-foot joint of pipe, in a manual setting, without looking at the stripping rams and equalizing pressure, doing anything there, you have 17 manual motions. So if you're going in under no pressure and you can truly take 10-foot strokes, then that's 17 motions. As soon as you have pressure in the well and you've got unsupported length between either the bottom ram or the top ram and the traveling slips or whatever, then now you can't take as much of a stroke. So maybe you're only taking a 4-foot stroke and you go from 17 motions to 30 motions in that, right?
Yeah, it's a very tedious process, right?
Yes.
And so someone listening to you right there, it's like, oh shit, that's complicated because you're constantly having to open up valves, and you just said 17 motions, and you're making whole 4 feet 5 feet at a time. You're having to snub it in, and it's just a very tedious, and you have to have some patience for it, and very dangerous as well. Like you said, their entire job is managing pressure. Guess what? You slip up there and you allow pressure to come back. I've personally seen guys blown off of a snubbing unit floor, and it's not good. So y'all's solution, if it was to be deployed there, how does it help the process? Explain that.
Yeah, for sure. So we go from 17 or 30 motions just with that injector to 1. So that's massive. We don't transfer the load. So that's the biggest fundamental
you have
change.
two sets of slips.
We don't.
On a snubbing unit. On a snubbing unit,
sets,
you have your stationary slips and then traveling slips.
That's right.
Essentially, you guys are going to be able to eliminate that, right?
Yeah, we take that out of the way, and then what we do is the injector actually is mounted on top of the wellhead, so we minimize, pretty much eliminate the buckling length.
Yeah.
Right. So because that's a fixed distance, if we do choose to keep a work window in there, which a lot of guys, well, we need a work window. So there's the only discussion in packaging is whether or not that work window opens and closes, or if we just permanently guide it and then the guide comes out for any work that needs to happen. But that's part of the packaging stuff that we're working with several different OFSs and oil companies that all see the value in it. They're like I said, first to be second, right?
Yeah.
So we're actually putting together the plan for starting a build in Q1. We've built a unit. So just to dial back, in the beginning of 2019, we built sort of a bunch of the gripper blocks, and we went down the IKEA model, testing tens of thousands of cycles, like with the gripper blocks. So we built the cast steel units, threw them through all these tests, and then we put them out. Then once we proved that to ourselves, we built the full injector. So and since then we've done about 2 million feet through the injector into our test well and out.
Yeah.
That unit though was only designed to go to 100,000 pound hook load.
Yeah.
So we can go up into the next nominal sizes, and really the system that we want to build for the States is a 300,000 pound unit.
Yeah.
So just equivalent to the jacks that exist right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So back to the benefits of that. Essentially, what you have is you're marrying the speed of coil and the safety of coil, and moving the guys 100 feet away into a control cab, and you're cleaning up, not cleaning up, but you might be working to a different crew of people, right? A lot of guys don't want to be 40 feet in the air in the cold and fighting with pressure.
Snubbing unit hands are the real deal, man.
They are. They're freaking rock stars. Yeah. They really are.
Everyone talks about roughnecks having dangerous jobs. I'm like, man, you look at snubbing unit hands, like it doesn't get much more dangerous than that.
But the tool that we like, we want to bring that tool to that community, right? Yeah. Because that's kind of that's their world, and we want those snubbers to lead the well servicing industry right from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Because this gets rid of all the hoisting, all the transferring of load, whether it's stationary slips and a block on a drilling rig or on a service rig, or it's a traveling set of slips on a snubbing jack, right?
Yeah. Man, really, I want to come see this. Like, I want to come see it in action, because I'm trying to visualize it, and I'm like, man, this if it works the way that you say it works, like, I'm like, man, that's some cool shit like that can change entire processes.
We've had several people up actually just before COVID to see the unit, and we could be having the conversation right just like this, and we'd be standing beside it, be running my pipe into the well. Yeah. And it's so quiet, it's super anticlimactic. Which I can't say the same about.
It's too boring.
Yeah, it is, like, because people come up and they look at it and they go, "Oh yeah, it does what you said it does," and then they just walk away. Like, okay, guys, like, let's get this moving.
We should compare and contrast. Let's begin with the old way, and then let's see how you guys are doing it.
Yeah.
That's always funny. Like when I ran expandable casing, like I would have. I mean, you always had an audience. Like I remember Chesapeake one time brought out like 20 engineers to watch me run this tool. Like I'd walk them through the tool, and then I'd run it down, I expand it. I'm like, yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, like I can't make it more exciting for you.
Yeah. It is. We definitely have to figure out how maybe we can make it more exciting, like maybe fireworks or something. Like
fireworks, liven it up. Yeah. Well, if someone's listening to this, they're on the drilling side, where can they find you guys at? What's y'all's website? I'm sure they can find you on LinkedIn. Speaking of, being visible and having content.
Yeah. So our website's www. I'm killing myself. Why do I even say it? Everyone knows it's www. It was something I was listening to last night. We were talking about HTTP. So it's automatedrig.com.
Automatedrig.com. Yeah. All right. We'll leave a link to that in the show notes, and then look up on LinkedIn and find you over there. It's not pronounced Richard, the last name.
Richard.
That's right. Yeah, Donnie and Yusuf had it right.
So, hey, man, appreciate you coming on the show. Really fascinating stuff.
Great to finally meet you.
Hopefully sometime we can come up there and get a sneak peek at it.
Anytime. If you're up, like,
Yeah.
We only need 1 day's notice if our shop isn't jammed busy. We just need to pull one guy out to get it
Awesome.
running. So
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thanks
Yeah.
for coming on the show, man.
yeah, thanks a lot for having me. This
Yeah.
was awesome, guys. Thanks a lot.
If you guys haven't signed up for the BDE newsletter, it goes out every single week. Go check it out. Catch you guys in the next episode.